How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. How are you doing? What? Another video so soon went through the last. I know it's because Chelsea's game just so happened to be one of the earlier ones in the Premier League this week, so I had to get out my predictions, and now I'm getting out my prediction for the Crystal Palace Chelsea game specifically. I did mention it in that one. Obviously, I gave my score, but I'm going more in depth in this video as I have been for the last few weeks, and my god, I need a haircut. Anyways, I just barely noticed myself in the camera. That's not part of the video. That's not what we're going over. Not my haircut. Don't look at my hair, okay? We're going straight into the player news. Christian Pulisic has been officially confirmed by Lampard. He is fit, at least to be on the bench. So we could be finally seeing our boy Christian back. Finally, after waiting. It feels like it's been forever. It's really only been like a month or two, but just a chance to get to see him off the bench and to see him play finally this season is gonna be exciting. Hopefully he gets a chance. Ziyech is still out. Lampard did say he's still not fit, and then Gilmore and Van Hinkel are still out after their respective surgeries. Crystal Palace, Gary Cahill, James Tompkins, and Patrick Van Aanholt with a hamstring, thigh, and shoulder injury respectively all return to training. However, they aren't likely to be on the team just yet. They haven't really returned to their fitness quite yet, so don't expect them to be on the bench. And in my lineup predictions, I actually did not throw them in the lineup nor the bench, so that was purely based off Hodgson. I believe Hodgson had a quote and he said that they aren't likely, he's the one that said they aren't likely to be on the team, Hodgson being Roy Hodgson being Crystal Palace's manager. He's the one that said they're most likely not going to be on a team. So I'm going off of that. And then Ferguson has a knee injury and Schlupp has a muscle injury. So those two are definitely out. Cahill, Tompkins, and Van Aanholt are very likely to not be playing in this game at all, not featuring at all. Now in the last matchups, Chelsea have actually won the last 5 matchups against Crystal Palace and a win in this upcoming game would be their 6th. It would actually be their 6th straight against Crystal Palace for the first time in history. I should have saved that for my interesting fact for the review, and I might still use it as my interesting fact. We'll see tomorrow. Now, Chelsea's last 3 games, they had the Carabao Cup matchup against Barnsley, which they won 6-0. They had the very disappointing draw against West Brom, 3-3. And they lost to Spurs in penalties in the Carabao Cup. Not the greatest run of results. They aren't looking the sharpest right now, so hopefully this will be a game to turn around and start picking up that form. Crystal Palace, last 3 games, they lost to Bournemouth in the They lost to Bournemouth in the Carabao Cup on pens. They beat Man United in the Premier League, and then they lost to Everton in the Premier League 2-1. Now, their form is not bad. Not great, not bad. It's pretty good right now. They're in decent form. That's why I think they'll give us quite a bit of a challenge. Granted, I wasn't expecting West Brom to give us a challenge like at all, yet they came and did what they did in that first half. So it really depends on the Crystal Palace we get. If we get the Crystal Palace that played against United, we're going to struggle. We're going to struggle quite a bit, and I really don't think this is going to be an easy game for Chelsea. And again, assuming Crystal Palace come to play, which I really hope they do. I even said it. I said it on West Brom when I hope West Brom give us a challenge, and sure enough, they did. This one, I really hope we get another challenge so we can keep improving and keep finding weaknesses in our team to fix. And that just means we'll get better and better and better and better and better. I don't want us to be perfect. Obviously, that's impossible, but I want us to be at our best. And fortunately, with this team, we have such a high ceiling that I think that we can go far. Now, for this game, Chelsea definitely needs to bounce back after drawing against West Brom, losing against Spurs. Obviously, not the greatest run of form, like I mentioned. In the second half against West Brom, we actually played how we should have played that whole game. We dominated possession. We kept possession in their half, and specifically their defensive third, for a good majority of that game. And we had a lot of quick 1-2s, a lot of quick passing. The passes were pretty accurate. We had over 700 in that game, and we need more of that. We need that second half performance is what we need against Crystal Palace. Now, ultimately, that did come because West Brom did start playing a low block. However, it didn't matter. Like that's how we should have played the whole game. Instead, we let West Brom, press us and force mistakes, and that just can't happen. And speaking of errors, that cannot happen again. They cannot cost us again. Now, I believe that our midfield needs to create some kind of wall in front of our defense. I think we need that kind of protection where if the midfield makes a mistake, the defense is right there to protect them. It's not, the defense makes a mistake and that's it, game over. Like Thiago Silva, when he made his mistake, no one could back him up. Christensen was way out. Thiago Silva wasn't catching up, and Robinson just put that goal away like it was nothing. Now, another thing, no more wasteful fouls/shots. I feel like in the last game we had a lot of fouls that, quite honestly, were pointless. They didn't really stop an attack. I mean, they might have stopped momentum, but they were pretty pointless and unnecessary. And same with shots. We had 3 or 4 shots where they just shouldn't have happened, where they were just wild efforts. I mean, granted, if they go in, they're beautiful shots and will be remembered for the rest of the season, but they don't, and you look like a fool, which happened more often than not, except for like Mason Mount. Mason Mount's goal was like the only one. We have to keep our shape. Whatever formation we're going with, which I still think a 4-2-3-1 is the shape, we got to keep it. We got to stick with it. We got to hold our positions, not lose our bearings. In particular, the fullbacks was my problem against West Brom. The fullbacks were pushing up, and West Brom was taking advantage of the space that came in behind because they weren't getting back fast enough. That can't happen. That cannot happen. We were getting exposed regularly out on the wing, and with the fullbacks pushed up, there was no protection. It was just up to the center backs. Of course, like that was just an error waiting to happen. That was just a mistake waiting to happen, and it's crazy that West Brom didn't score off of that. They scored off of other errors, but not that. Not poor positioning. And if we go down and if we struggle in this game, which is Crystal Palace, I could definitely see it happening. We cannot panic like we did towards the end of the first half against West Brom. We started getting really sloppy, started getting desperate when we weren't even out of the game. I mean, it was 3-0, but honestly, we weren't that far out of the game to where we just give up and get desperate. Like, we need to calm down and not throw the game plan out the window. Relax. And if it's working, if we're very much in the game and we just so happen to be down, there's no need to throw the game plan out the window. And I feel like that's something a lot of people don't understand, is that just because we're losing doesn't mean we're performing poorly. We just might not be clinical enough. That last pass isn't there. Whatever it is, just because we're losing doesn't mean the game plan has to go out the window. So, and that's more so for the players. Don't panic, relax, breathe. The game's not over. Now, heading into our lineups, for me, my predicted lineup for Chelsea is a 4-2-3-1, like I mentioned. I think Mendy gets his Premier League debut start. Chilwell, left back, gets his Premier League debut for Chelsea. Thiago Silva, left center back. Now, for right center back, I personally want to see Fikayo Tomori. However, I could very much see it being Kurt Zouma. But for one lineup, I put Mendy, Chilwell, Thiago Silva, Kurt Zouma, Reece James, Conte, Jorginho as defensive mids, Mount left attacking mid. At center attacking mid, either Kovacic or Werner. For this lineup, I'm going to go Kovacic, right attacking mid, Havertz, and at striker, Abraham. Now, my other option was Kovacic at center attacking mid and Werner at striker. The reason being is Werner at center attacking mid, I feel like kind of defeats the purpose of why we brought him in. I feel like he's an excellent striker and he needs to get in behind, whereas center attacking mid kind of holds him back a bit to where he can't always make those runs. He's got to, be present in the midfield to collect the ball and what's the word? Distribute. That's the word I was looking for. He needs to be able to distribute and get the ball out. So he's not always able to sit on the line and wait for the ball to come through to use his pace. He kind of has to hold himself back a little bit. That's why I think he shouldn't play center attacking mid. He should be at striker. He should be at striker and be our true number 9. Now, Abraham will likely be the one to get the axe and go to the bench if that's the case. I think Kovacic could do well as a center attacking mid in that role. He proved it last season. You know, his passing and his shots, his attacking presence was felt last season. Not towards the end, but you know, for a good chunk of it. So I think he could do well at center attacking mid. Now for our subs, I put Kepa on the bench still. I still think Lampard keeps him on the bench. Azpilicueta, depending on whether Tomori or Zuma starts, whichever one doesn't start is on the bench. Giroud, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Christian Pulisic, and then between Abraham and Kovacic, whichever one doesn't start. Now for Crystal Palace, in keep, I chose Guayata. For Crystal Palace, I pretty much went real quick with the same lineup that I did for their game against, I believe it was, who was their last game? Everton. Because nothing's really changed for them. The injuries are still the same. Everything's pretty much still the same, so I expect more or less the same lineup. They didn't exactly perform poorly against Everton, so I don't really see why Roy Hodgson would really change too much up. This is their normal shape, to be honest. It really is. This isn't the shape you normally see him in. So again, in goal, Guaita. At left back, right back, Ward. Kouyaté, Sako as a center back pair. Mitchell, left back. Townsend, right mid. McCarthy and MacArthur, the Mick brothers. They're not Mick brothers. At the center mid pair. And then Eze on the left. Zaha and Ayew up top. Now for the subs. Actually, real quick. Zaha and Ayew, that is a dangerous pair up top. I feel like they're kind of underrated. Zaha not so much, Ayew a little bit more. I think Ayew is a very solid forward, and that pairing up top is actually kind of dangerous and something you should be careful about underestimating. Now for the subs, Hennessy in goal as a backup goalkeeper. You have Kelly and Milivojevic, Meyer, Riederwald, Batshuayi, and Christian Benteke. Now, again, I went with a similar lineup to Everton. I don't think they change. This squad is more or less the same. They really haven't changed too much over the last couple seasons. Not crazy, but this squad is dangerous. The Crystal Palace's squad. When they want to play, they can play, and I do want them to give us a challenge. I could see it very much going like the Brighton game. Where we won 3-0, but it was not a 3-0 real 3-0 win. It's not fair to Brighton. I'm going with a 3-1 scoreline. I think Crystal Palace get on the board first, and then Chelsea come back and make it 2-1, and then get a garbage time goal or whatever. I'm gonna go with 3-1, but I think it's gonna be an incredibly unfair 3-1 to Crystal Palace. I have a feeling this is gonna be a fairly close game. Again, it's depending on what Crystal Palace we get, because last season I believe we beat them 2-0, 3-0, very comfortably towards the end of last season, very comfortably. And so again, do we gonna get the good Crystal Palace that's the giant beater, the world beater, or are we gonna get the Crystal Palace that looks like a relegation favorite? So it depends on Crystal Palace. It depends on how they perform, but ultimately this is a game that Chelsea need to bounce back. They need to put those other losses, put the draws, put everything behind them, and bounce back. We need to get it together now. We need to start figuring some things out. Our preseason's over. It's done. We got those games out of the way. This is crunch time. October, the Champions League is coming up too. October is where it's getting serious now. We had our month of preseason. Now let's really get into it. Let's figure out where we stand. Let's get going. We need Havertz. Actually, Havertz has done quite a bit. He's been performing at least decent every game. He hasn't really looked poor. Werner was very quiet against West Brom. I want to see more for him against Crystal Palace. I want to see more from him, and I think that we can handle Crystal Palace. I think we really can. I don't see us. I don't want to say that because I said it against West Brom, but I don't see us losing this game. And I don't know if that's just me really hoping that we break our, spurt of some interesting form, to say the least. I just want us to come out of this with a win really bad, because we need it. Yeah, those are my thoughts. I really hope Chelsea can pull out the result and can do what they really haven't been able to do these last couple games, and that's close out the opponent and dominate from the start. Please. Because we dominated Spurs in the first half and struggled in the second. A lot, because they started pressing us. So we need to be able to close out these opponents, especially when we're dominating. And we need to dominate from the very beginning of the game. Plain and simple. And then with that, we'll win the game. Simple. We just need to be clinical. We need to put them to bed. Yeah, those are my thoughts on this Chelsea game. Those are my predictions. Hopefully Chelsea come out with a dub. But if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, click that bell so you're notified when I upload. Go check out the socials. Twitter is @BlueHermit1. Instagram is @BlueHermit_. Please share the socials with all your friends, family, everybody you know. Let the people know Blue Hermit's where it's at. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.